Hello everybody, and welcome to this video, which is sponsored by, and actually all about, the game KARDS, spelt with a K. Now, in keeping with channel policy, this sponsorship has not been taken because somebody just reached out and said, hey, do you want a bunch of money to tell people about our stuff? This is, again, as per channel policy, something that I actually already used. It specifically, I already played this game, and then they reached out to me pretty much apropos of nothing, but mainly because they have a naval element introduced in their latest expansion, which, shockingly enough, was interesting to me. So, let's launch the game and see what it's all about. Now, KARDS is a deck builder game, and as I said, you can play it either on your phone or on your PC. So this is what you get when you launch in. Each day you have some challenges to earn some coins, but this is your opening screen. Now, we're going to walk through two things, basically looking at the naval element in particular, and then we're going to build a deck and we're going to play that deck. And I'm going to tell you about some of the cards as well. You see, I've got some packs that are due to be opened. I have been playing this for quite a while, so that's me. You get, as you play during a week or during a season, you get this crate option here. Will gradually fill and fill. So you see I'm nearly at an elite crate. This is the weekly crate, so if I play a bit more, I might unlock the elite crate before the day is out. Now, with that said, let's go and have a look at some of the cards themselves, shall we? These are my various decks. Some of them, like these beginner decks, are just what you start with. Some of them I've created myself, rather imaginatively, Soviet Deck 2, etc. And some of them are pre-made decks from the latest expansion that you can buy in the in-game shop, although obviously it is a deck building game. You are supposed to be building your own decks as well, and that's what we will be doing a little bit further on in this video. You'll notice a rather wide variety of fetching card backs. You'll notice some of these little shield symbols, they have reserved deck cards in them. Reserved cards are basically cards that haven't been played all that much, or perhaps cards that are seen as a little bit overpowered. Cards that duplicate abilities, or cards they want to rework with different stat, then it goes into the reserve deck. So you can still use it, you can still play with it, except for in the ranked format. So if we go into collection, this shows you all the cards that you have, and you can see you've got your various filters. So there's different nations and different types of card, rarities, sets, the active reserve, etc., etc. So you've got lots of filters, and they're worth varying amounts of credits, also spelt with a K. And then you have wild cards. You get these with various packs that you earn by playing, and wild cards you can use to essentially convert a wild card of a given level into a card that you want. So, for example, you see we've got standard, that's the sort of ace of spades symbol, so that can be converted into any type of card, and then you've got national-based ones as well. So at the moment, I only have one limited Japanese wild card, so if there was a limited Japanese card that I wanted, I could convert that wild card into that card. And you see the maximum number of cards you're allowed to have of any given type along the bottom here. So I've got one against the odds, but I could get two more if I wanted to use my wild cards. Now, let's go to show all unowned cards as well. So these are the ones in grey, the ones I don't have. These are just your little bases, basically your health point markers. They're just a little bit of fun, but these are the actual main cards themselves, starting off with 0 cost cards going all the way up to 7 or more. So you have various types. You have infantry cards. So when you're playing the game, different cards do different things. Infantry cards deploy into your reserve line, and then the next turn you can move them forward into the front line. So essentially they get one action per turn. You have artillery cards, and artillery cards, they deploy like infantry, so you deploy them one turn, use them the next, but they can fire from your reserve line into any other part of the board. And obviously then if they do that, they can't be counterattacked very easily. Then you have your tanks, and tanks can both move and attack in their turn. You have bombers. So bombers function somewhat like artillery except that they can be intercepted by fighters. Then you have your fighters, and of course they fly, so they can fly over, so both bombers and fighters can fly over the front lines, so they can attack either the enemy base or the enemy back line without having to worry about frontline defenders. Although again, of course, fighters can meet other fighters. You've got various instant cards, so these are things that you can play pretty much immediately. And these are countermeasures, so you put these out, you pay the cost to deploy them, but you only get that cost taken away permanently from your pool of credits if somebody triggers their effect. Anyway, so let's look at the naval warfare set. So there are a lot of naval-themed cards, unsurprisingly, in the naval warfare set, and a lot of them that are more recognizable, they have effects that are actually themed to what those cards' real-life counterparts actually did. If you're wondering about the nations, you basically play as one of the 5 main nations: Germany, Britain, the Soviets, the Americans, or the Japanese, and then France, Italy, Poland, and Finland are subsidiary allies. So you can create a deck that's purely one nation, or a deck that is one nation with an ally of another, which we'll see in a minute. And France, Italy, Poland, Finland, generally speaking, you only have them as allies, whereas you can technically ally with almost anyone, but there you go. So, for example, we have here the USS Yorktown. This is a 6-credit American card, but when you put Yorktown onto the field, you see it doesn't actually have an attack or a health rating, so it's just a deployable, but you put 4 Brewster F2A Buffalo fighters on the battlefield in the front line if possible. So there are card limits to how many cards you can have on the field at the front and the back. And you can see there actually shows you the stat line of the Brewster F2A. It's a fighter. It has 1 attack, 2 health, but when it's on the front line, it gets +1 attack, so it's at 2/2. If we go a little bit up, so this is a USS Archerfish, an American 5-credit card. This is, of course, the submarine that sank the Shinano, and rather appropriately, it gets to destroy a random enemy unit. And if you have a Navy card on the top of your deck, which is any named ship from this expansion or previous cards, you get to repeat the action, basically simulating a big torpedo spread. Yorktown there obviously simulating being a fighter carrier in the early part of the war. HMS Formidable. The British have a couple of cards that do something similar to this, but Formidable is a 5-credit card, and it changes the attack of a friendly unit to be equal to its defense. And given that the British have some fairly tanky units like the Churchill, which is a 2/7, that can be very useful. Now, some British cards that do this, they just apply it to a card. There's one British card we'll see in a minute which actually does it to everything you've got on the board. But the speciality of Formidable here is that whatever card you've just chosen, it fights all enemy units in a random order. So if you had a Churchill, and perhaps a Churchill that you'd boosted its health even more, you create a very formidable, very tanky thing, and fight basically means it attacks every unit one after the other. And since the Churchill tank has armor, which reduces the amount of incoming damage, if your enemies put loads and loads of weak units out, you could potentially clear the board quite easily. So then we've got Tirpitz here, deals 4 damage to the enemy HQ, and the enemy cannot deploy units next turn. So the latter part obviously inspired by the rather paralysing effect that Tirpitz had on some Allied activities and deployments in the North Sea and the Arctic, and, well, long-range guns, I suppose, for that. For the damage, Roma, the Italian battleship, deals 4 damage to an enemy, so anywhere on the field. The top card of your deck has the Navy type until the end of your next turn, so this could be quite useful for a synergistic play. You deal 4 damage to something, but then if you've got another card in there, like for example, where was the one? The Archerfish, that then you don't necessarily have to have a card from the naval expansion on the top of your deck. It can be anything else, but Roma will make it so that that extra effect triggers. Then we've got the Prince Eugen. When the enemy deploys a unit, put it on the top of their deck and convert it into production. So this is another kind of card. So if you mouse over, so you can see production is an instant card that gives you 1 additional credit this turn. So you can spend it on something else. Obviously, it costs nothing, otherwise it would be a bit pointless. But if, for example, the enemy has just deployed something really powerful, like a big tank or a big battleship or something, or they've really heavily put out a boosted card, then you can use the Prince Eugen to essentially A, get rid of it, and B, make sure it can't come back. Akagi, Japanese carrier, shuffle your hand into your deck, then draw 3 cards. They cost 2 less to play this turn. So if you haven't got a particularly good hand, the Akagi is quite a good one. It gives you a small hand. You can have up to 9 cards in your hand at any one time, but they're fairly cheap. So if, for example, you built a Japanese Navy Air Force deck and you had a bunch of aircraft, then you could potentially play, in the mid to end game scenario, quite a lot of aircraft all of a sudden. Good old HMS Belfast, available as a normal colour and a gold colour, which doesn't actually affect anything about the gameplay, it just looks cooler. Now, here you put a unit on top of the owner's deck, and then you shuffle the card if there's a Navy deck on the top of your deck. So it's a 2-part effect, but essentially you're temporarily returning a card to the enemy's deck so they can't use it, similar to the Prince Eugen, but instead of converting it to production, you might get to shuffle your own deck. First, Happy Ton, there's 2 of them, but choose 1 of 3 cards in the enemy hand, convert both into a plan. That's just a draw card thing, so again, a good way of eliminating powerful enemy cards. Soviet Naval Infantry, USS Missouri, this one's quite fun. Destroy a target unit on the front line and then retreat adjacent units, so it can force enemy cards back, because remember, unless it's a bomber, fighter or artillery, they can't attack from the rear line. In fact, I think only bombers and artillery can attack from the rear line, unless you're attacking other aircraft. But with Missouri, not only are you destroying a target, it doesn't matter how powerful it is on the front line, you just are destroying it, because, big 16-inch guns, but anything that's next to it retreats, so that could allow you to not be attacked the next turn, for example. Presumably they're all running in fear from the massive 16-inch barrage. You've got USS Fitch here, a Fletcher-class destroyer. That gives everybody around you +1/+1, because, hey, the morale-boosting effect of lots of Fletchers. But if you've got a Navy card, then they all get +2/+2. So again, maybe having the Roma around from the Italians would be a good ally to go with this card. Given that there's a lot of, if there is a Navy card on top of your deck triggering in the US, perhaps a US-Italian alliance would be a good deck to play. Strike Group. You can see here, this is an American carrier strike group. Show it when drawn. Draw a random air unit from your deck, but all your air units get +1/+1. So an American air Navy deck could benefit from this card. The PBY Coronado, you get a single Brewster on Buffalo on the front line when you draw it, and your fighters have +1 attack. So your Brewster potentially, if it's on the front line, is a 3/2, and this is a 2/4 bomber, so your fighter is also protecting your bomber. Of course, the B5N2 torpedo bomber, it's a 3/2 bomber, so it can attack pretty much anywhere it likes, unless there's a fighter present, but it gets +1/+1 when you play a card with intel, and it has smoke screen, so initially it can't be attacked until it attacks. And if you play a card with intel, which reveals what some of the cards the enemy have in their hand, it becomes a 4/3, which is quite nice. Then you've got Chain Home, the radar station, and coming down, Night Patrol, HMS Scepter. This counters an enemy order, converts it into a plan, and returns it to hand. So again, the enemy just gets to draw a card. Engage at range. You can deal 2 damage to an enemy, but if you convert it into engage up close, as you can see, that destroys a target unit. The British Pacific Fleet has its own card. Converts a random card in the enemy hand into a plan, just essentially gets rid of that card, but just forces them to draw a new one. And Beta Som, the Italians there, they develop a Navy card, so you basically just get a free card, and the top card of your deck has a Navy type to the end of your turn, so the Italians are looking like a pretty good ally if you have those effects that the British and the Americans seem to have of triggering every time there's another Navy card in your deck. So that's some of the various cards that are available. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm then going to switch off the cards that I don't have, and then I'm going to say I'm done here, and I'm going to look specifically at the British because there's a few other cards in the game that were already in there before the Naval Warfare expansion came out that had a naval theme. And actually there's quite a few across the various decks. So we have Rule Britannia. This is the one I quite like. Every British unit, if you play Rule Britannia, then you only get one of them for obvious reasons, and it's quite expensive, but every British unit gets +2 defense, and every British unit gets +2 defense, and then their attack becomes equal to their defense. Now this obviously you do have to play carefully and choose what kind of deck you're playing it in, because for example you can see here Lancaster Mark 1, big expensive thing, but it's a 7/4. It's quite good on the attack. It's not got that much health. If you played Rule Britannia, yes, you'd get 6 health, but you drop your attack down to 6 because it would become a 6/6. And a lot of the British bombers are like this. I mean, the Halifax and the Lancaster B Mark 3, they don't hit quite as hard as the Lancaster Mark 1, but they're not as expensive, but they're still 5/4s. So yes, they would become 6/6s, but it's not as much of a gain as, for example, if we go a little bit further down, costing 5. There you go, Churchill, the Churchill Mark 4, which I was talking about earlier. That's a 2/7, which has guard, which means if it's got other cards next to it, the enemy has to attack it first, and it's got heavy armor 1, so it reduces incoming damage by 1. If you play Rule Britannia and you have a Churchill Mark 4 out, it becomes a 9 defense and then becomes 9 attack, so a 9/9 with a 1 damage reduction. But anyway, we're going to talk about other naval cards in here. So you've got HMS Hermes. That fills your support line with Swordfish Mark 1. That can be quite a lot of Swordfish, and they're a bomber. Then going further down, that's Formidable. We've seen her already. You've got Blockade, standard British strategy. That deals 2 damage to each unit, but 3 if there's a Navy card on top of your deck, which is quite nice. You've got the Barracuda Torpedo Bomber. It's a 2/3 bomber, but when you first deploy it, it does 2 damage to an enemy and pins it if it happens to be a unit, because you can attack obviously the base as well. HMS Belfast, we've seen her already. Bliskevich's in here because the Poles are natural allies of the British. So this obviously gives you 2 intel, and you get to copy a random order, and you gain HQ defense equal to the cost of the order that you just copied. So a good way to regain health. HMS Illustrious is a more limited version of HMS Hermes. You only get 2 Swordfish in your support line instead of however many you've got free slots. But they get Blitz, which allows them to attack on the turn they deploy. You can see there the Swordfish is a 1/3 bomber. So again, something that might very much benefit from a late game deployment of Rule Britannia, because that 1/3 is going to suddenly become a 5/5. You've got the Merchant Navy. When an enemy unit attacks, retreat it instead. That's quite handy to... The Merchant Navy, when the enemy unit attacks, retreat it instead. That's quite useful to, if the enemy's brought out a really big gun and then it attacks you. Oh, well, it didn't attack, it just ran away. Sea Embargo, quite good for boosting your air units. I mean, you can boost anything. It gives you +1/+1, but if it's an air unit, you get another free air unit, so best to use it there. Naval Support, this is another one of those cards that changes the target unit to be equal to its defense. Attack to be equal to defense. Good old Albacore, it's like a mini version of the Barracuda, etc, etc. So, what we're now going to do is we're going to go back into our cards, and we are going to try and create a new deck. Our deck count limit reached. That's fine, I can get rid of some of these starters. Okay. New deck. So you can see we've got our main nation. I'm going to select Britain. Our allies. The Italians seem to have some rather nice naval cards. But do I go with that? Do I go with the Americans? The Americans can be quite nice. I think this time, because I'm going to go for some fairly expensive cards, I'm actually going to go an ally with the Americans, which is also historical. Alexandria is my naval base, so that's my little HQ card. Right, so I can take up to 40 cards, and up to 12 of them can be from the Americans. So let's go down to the expensive ones that I absolutely know I want. I'm going to switch on cards that I don't have, just in case I see one I really like and I can use a wild card. Right, so we're going to do a primarily naval theme. So this may not be the most optimal or meta. So let's take a Rule Britannia. This one's always funny. If someone puts out a really, really powerful card, you're just like, nope, that's mine now. I might come back to that one. Oh, special assignment. Choose a unit in hand and add it to the battlefield. So that bypasses the deployment step. I'm going to take Yorktown. I'm going to take wave after wave. That deals 2 damage to enemy units, but if it's the second order, it does 4. That's quite useful. Hermes, definitely. Hermes again, Hermes again. I'm actually going to take Yorktown again. So basically this is going to be a deck mostly built around Carrier Strike, to be perfectly honest. Okay, Bowfighter Torpedo Bomber there. That's actually quite a handy one, in that if someone attacks you, they take 3 damage first. Let's see. Now, that could be quite useful. This is an American card. Gives your units and HQ plus 3 defense and draw a card. So obviously this is very useful because I can use it to boost the defense of some of my cards before I deploy Rule Britannia, which will give them even greater attack power. There's a Banshee there, the land version of the Dauntless. Archerfish will be quite funny to play. The Alliance gives all my non-US units +2/+2. And there's a Privateer. It costs the enemy +2 credits to target or attack that unit because attacking costs a certain amount. You can see you've got your deployment cost there with a big number, and then the smaller cost is how much it costs you from your credit pile to attack with it. I'll take Formidable because that's a smaller version of Rule Britannia. Take a couple of Churchills just to secure my cards while I'm building up. Blockade is quite a nice one. So I've got quite a lot of heavy units at the moment. Barracuda's always fun. Yeah, B-25H. It's a 3/3 bomber, but then you get a gunship mission when you deploy it, which allows you to do 2 damage to a target in your support line, in the enemy support line, and you gain 2 defense. Sunderland, at the end of your turn, draw a random Navy card from your deck. Unfortunately, I don't think I've got... No, I don't have any elite wild cards, so I can't buy that just yet. Would have been nice, though. Rescue mission. Oh, when a friendly unit is destroyed, add 2 copies of it to your hand. That could be quite fun. I'll take a couple of Belfasts. Now, the reason I haven't chosen some other cards is because, obviously, these are all quite expensive. You gain 1 credit per turn into your credit pile. So, at the moment, I couldn't deploy anything until turn 4. So, I need some cheaper cards. There's the Skewer, if anyone wants that. So, I need some cheaper cards, or I need some way of boosting my credits pretty quickly. The Fitch. Can I buy the Fitch? No. Ah. I can create 1 Fitch, so I will. Right, I'm going to do that. Now I do have the potential to have a lot of air units, so I'm going to take a strike group. I'll take another one. There's the good old Dauntless now. The Dauntless, representing its, strength and durability, actually has a heavy armor 1, which is incredibly rare for a bomber. So let's take a Dauntless. Let's take a Coronado, because we're in the cheap area. There's the 40mm Bofors except on land. Oh, this is quite useful. This is a research line card. Basically, you can choose to play some boosters off of it early, or you can keep developing it into a really, really powerful card for the late game. Where are you? There's Illustrious. There's more Swordfish for fun. Now we're going to keep going. Now here we go. These are some of the cards I want for here. So we've got America at War. Gain an extra credit slot and draw a card if you have 2 more unspent credits. So that's quite useful because that gives me more credits. But I can't take... I've run into my 12 limit. Okay, so where's that? I do want those extra credit slots, so I'm going to find the other cards, American cards, that give me more credits, put those in, and then I'm going to have to take out some others. And then everything else will be from the British side of things, obviously. The handy thing is you can search for keywords. There you go. So, there you go, the War Machine. Gain an extra credit slot. I want a bunch of those. There's Embargo, which the enemy will get 2 fewer credits next turn. Okay, right, so I'm well over my count for American cards, so I'm going to have to get rid of some. I want to keep my Yorktown. What can I get rid of? Okay, I'll get rid of some of the cheaper... Get rid of one of those, because I've already got 5 credit boosting cards. As tempting as that is... Yeah, I'll get rid of one under okay, right. So I've got all my American cards. Now I need to find 10 more British cards, and they need to be naval themed. So let's have a look. What else can we do? Don't have any orders, so that's not much good. Cup of tea. Keep calm and carry on. Everyone gets +2 defense. That'll be really useful with some of the other cards I'm developing. Oh, carrier cover. That's an American card, so I can't take it this time, but it is quite nice. Fighters get +1/+1 or a move to the front line. That's also a really nice card, but can't take it at the moment. HMS Talbot, that's a submarine. Gets +6 defense. What have we got? Naval power. Pin an enemy unit, give myself +3 defense. Might be handy in the early game. Oh, protected convoy? Sure, it's a naval theme. Swordfish. I'll get a swordfish. I'm taking some cheap cards, so I've got stuff to deploy early on while I'm building up my credits. The Albacore, that's quite good for stopping the enemy. BPF, that'll be quite funny to play, I think. That can be a random elite unit. And naval support is the very basic change your attack equal to defense. So I take one of those, and I'll take a night patrol, which is basically I get to draw 2 cards, choose one, and return the other to my deck. No, can't take night patrol because that's an American one. Sea embargo will be quite good. So I give a target unit +1/+1. There's going to be some air units out there. If it is an air unit, I get another air unit, a cheap one, for free. So we're going to call this Naval Theme. And I'm going to learn how to spell. Right, now let's see if this is actually any good. So I'm going to play casual rather than ranked. You can see it's just finding some hapless person to play against me. There have been various other themes, and the artwork is really nice as well. Right, so I'm up against this person, whoever they are. Right, so I can mulligan. So I've got 4 cards, so I'm going to be playing first. Now, I don't want anything that's too expensive right now, so I'm going to send those back to my deck. Hope we get some cheaper ones. I got another Belfast, but I did get an Illustrious, which is a little cheaper. The enemy is still selecting its starting hand. Fair enough. All right, and you got a little chat. So you can't do full chat, but you do have these little things you can do. So keep calm and carry on, everyone. Right, I only have 1 credit, so I can't do anything first turn. That's the risk of taking a high-end deck with not too many cheap cards in it. But I will be able to do something next turn. I don't think I'll do that, but I will. I've drawn Rescue Mission, so I don't have any units out at the moment, so that's not much point. I'm going to play the War Machine. So you see my credits count has gone up to 3. So next turn when it resets, I'm going to be 1 credit ahead of the curve. This guy's German. I wonder who he has as an ally, or if he has one at all. Germans often have countermeasure decks, which are quite nasty, because then you deploy something and then they just like, nope, we're torpedoing you. So his card there is allowing him to draw a card. Yeah, he's developing a German countermeasure. It does keep track of how many credits the enemy has spent, which is quite handy. So we know this was a 2-cost card. He only had 2 credits. So unless he's got a 0-cost countermeasure, he probably doesn't have anything out there. Now, obviously, Sea Embargo is not any good because I don't have a unit out. This, however, so I can play HMS Belfast, put a unit at the top of the owner's deck, but I don't want them to draw another countermeasure. Illustrious, though, gives me 2 Blitz Swordfish, so I'm going to play that. And as you can see, I can attack 1 credit cost. They are 1/3, so I'm going to attack Danzig. I am 5% of the way to victory. You see, this I could deploy later. Well, I could actually deploy this next turn in case he destroys one of my swordfish. Then I'll get 2 swordfish. But I might play the Sea Embargo instead. I see he's getting another countermeasure. So that's... He's now got 1 credit spare, so he might be deploying a countermeasure. So at this point, let's see. I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to deploy the Churchill. And it hasn't got countermeasured, but you can see the guard has come into play, so now he can't attack either of my swordfish. But that did cost me all my credits, so I have to end the turn. But that does give my swordfish a little bit more security going forward, unless there's artillery around. So he's taken the front line. So the only 1 player can control the front line at any one point. So this is limiting my capability of deploying cards. I can deploy up to 2 more, 5 in the back line and 4 on the front line. I think that's how it works anyway. So he's got lots and lots of countermeasures. So this is, yeah, a German countermeasure deck. This is going to be quite annoying. Except for the fact that I actually have quite a lot of cards that deploy other cards rather than being units themselves, which may make things awkward for him because a lot of his countermeasures may not trigger. The thing is, I don't really want to use Belfast because, as I said, if I put this back into his hand, he can just develop more countermeasures. Yorktown. So now you see, in the front line if possible, I can't, so that's probably not a good idea to deploy at the moment, but I can give my... Ooh, right, the end of your... Yeah, I'll take the Sunderland. Yeah, I'll take the Sunderland. That's quite a nice card. Then I will just attack Danzig again with a bomber, and again with my 2/4 bomber. And I will attack one of these with my Churchill. So destroyed him. He did 3 damage, but my heavy armor reduced the damage to 2. I'm now out of credits, so I'm going to end the turn. So he's got too many cards in his hand, so we drew that, but he's got 9 cards, so he drew a card, but he couldn't keep it because maximum 9 cards in your hand at any one time. I really want to try and take out this other Aufklärung, although now there's 2 of them. Because now I could deploy lots and lots of fighters. Now I've got Royal Britannia, so that's my late game card, but I don't even have 8 credits yet. So let's see. I've got 7 credits. I can take out both of these Aufklärungs, but I wouldn't then be able to deploy Yorktown in the same turn. Units dealt combat damage by this unit are destroyed. Okay, so I'm going to do this. That gives me the theoretical ability to deploy Yorktown next turn. I'm going to take out one of those. And I've got 2 credits left, so I might as well take a random British card. I'll take the Bowfighter, because then I will get a bunch of benefits if I deploy more British aircraft, which I'm probably going to do. Although, obviously, my next deployment is going to be a Yorktown, assuming that he doesn't take the front line with that Panzer. Finnish Panzer. Now you see I have Hermes, so I can fill my support line with Swordfish, but there's not that much space left on my support line, so that's not really worth it at the moment. I am going to deploy Yorktown. There we go. So now I have a whole bunch of 2-2s on the front line. They can't attack because they've only just been deployed this turn. What can I do? I can't deploy any more cards. I could actually, yeah, I'm going to... Now, I'm going to attack to get rid of that, because then that means I won't lose a Buffalo, and then I'm going to attack with... Oh, no, that was it. That was all my cards. Okay. Blasey. He had a bridge too far, so he's destroyed all of my Buffaloes. That's very annoying. But, you know, it is a game of 2 halves. He's got another Alf's clawing out. He's choosing his countermeasure, I'm presuming. But I am going to have some more credits next turn, so I potentially could throw another spanner in the works, as they say. Right, I have 9 credits. I'm going to move my tank up. I'm going to move this Swordfish up. And I'm going to play HMS Hermes. Now he's done a bit of damage to me. He deployed a countermeasure that when I deployed a card, so that was a 6-cost card, it did 6 damage to me. So I'm now behind on the damage curve. But I now do have an awful lot of Swordfish out there. And they only cost 1 to attack. I've got a Guard Churchill, so it's not looking too bad. And I do have enough to turn all of these Swordfish into 5/5s, except for the fact he's just, yeah. He was 1 turn ahead of me on that. Oh well. Blockade would be really nice, except there's no units on the board, so I'm going to gain a credit slot. Maybe I should play Rescue Mission. And I'm going to deploy a Sunderland. And I'm going to do that, just in case he counters it. See, because now at the end of my turn, I'm getting more Navy cards to play. So Formidable would be good if I get another Hermes. I did take quite a few Hermeses. And he's just countered that, and he's countered my Rescue Mission. Hey, well, at least I've got 2-5 Bomber out. Now, you see, changes the attack on a target to be equal to its defense. So suddenly, my Sunderland is now quite capable 5/5 bomber. It only costs 2 to attack. Now, I could do Rule Britannia, make him a 7/7, but maybe not. I'm going to deploy the Bowfighter. It's probably going to get countered. Yeah, but I'm burning his counters. And I'm going to attack for 5. So technically, we're now at roughly a similar position. That could be bad. Right, so we're now not in such a similar position, but I have another Hermes. Alright, so suppression. So I'm back down to the standard stat line of my Sunderland, and I'm only on 4 health. Kind of need to get this moving. Right, so I'm going to move that there, because that occupies the front line. He's going to have to at least kill that. I'm going to deploy my Hermes. Now, I could do a Belfast and force him to take that Panzer IIIL back, or I could do Protected Convoy. I'm going to make him take that back. Because I now have 12 credits. Now, once you get past 10 credits, you stop gaining credits each turn, unless you have cards that give you extra bonus credits. Yes, so he's deployed the Panzer IIIL again. Draw cards until you have as many as the enemy. Well, that's only given him 1. But theoretically, next turn, yep, hasn't done anything to stop me. Ooh, now that's nice. Now, I can do Rule Britannia, which will give me 5 bombers, but if I do this first, and then I do Rule Britannia, I now have a 9/9 Sunderland, and 7/7 Swordfish. I've only got 3 credits to play, but 1, 2, that's 14 damage. Victory to me. As you can see, level 184. I have been playing this game a little bit. So that was quite fun. That worked fairly well. German countermeasure decks are quite evil. He managed to board wipe a couple of times, but I still got ahead. So let's do one more just to see how this is going to work out. Because obviously, you know, there are 40 cards in my deck. I might get, well, I will get a different draw, so I may have to adapt my strategy somewhat. Rather nice picture here of Sunderland attacking a U-boat. And yes, you can change the what is deployed on your playing field, if you like. I got a Russian deck. So Russians either tend to specialize in extremely heavy armor or just mass rush decks. But anyway, actually, this is quite a nice set. They're all fairly low cost. I've got a booster for later on, and I've got 2 credit gain ones, so, and a pin card to slow people down. Now I've got 5 cards, so Zhukov, draw random Soviet infantry. Okay, fine. Right, might as well do this. So that'll get me, let me draw a card. That gets me an additional credit if I choose to play it, and it's 0 cost. So that'll be my for this turn. Next turn, I'll probably just boost my credit slot up. Get me ahead on the credit curve. Ooh. Okay, so he's in infantry, so he can only deploy forward to the front line next turn. So I don't need to worry about him attacking me just yet. So I'm just going to do that. And yeah, I don't think there's any point in doing anything else. The funny thing with the naval support is you can actually do that to anyone. Switch their defense, well, match their attack to their defense stats. So if someone's put out a big glass cannon unit, you can actually make it really weak. So he's done what I thought he would do. So he's drawing a card at the expense of health. Very sacrificial, very Soviet. But he can attack me for 3 next turn. Yeah, so he's going for big infantry rushes. So my blockade would kill that, possibly. At least do a lot of damage. But I can't play it yet because it's 5. Could draw a card. So I could potentially play up to 5, a 5 cost. So maybe that would work. But I think I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to pin him and give myself +3 defense. So he can't attack next turn. So, yeah, actually, I'm going to gain an additional credit just to play at my next War Machine slot. Get really far ahead on the credit curve. So now, even if he does attack with his 2-3 there, I'm still going to be 1 ahead on the health. And he's deployed another one of those, whatever they are, 845th rifles. Yeah, so I've still got 21 health, so that's not too bad. So Formidable will be useful later, but there's no units out. Blockade, draw a card, give units +1/+1. So I've got a lot of boosters, but not much units at the moment. I'm going to draw a card and see what that does. Okay, that gives me Hermes, so that'd be quite useful next turn. But I'm going to do the blockade for the minute. So there isn't a Navy card next up there, but I have done a bunch of damage, which is quite nice. Okay, yeah, definitely boosting up his infantry there. Only 1 damage though, so... Still, I'm down... Well, I'm actually down 8 health because I gained 3, and he has the front line. So... Going to play my Hermes. I can't play Fitch this turn. So playing Fitch would be quite nice, and then playing Rule Britannia. But just in case... What can I do now? There's no point in doing that just yet. Actually, no, I'm going to do that on him. Reduces the amount of damage he can do. So that means now, even if they attack my bombers, they're going to have to attack with more than 1 card to kill the swordfish. He's made me dispose of 1. What's that? Remove an enemy unit until this unit leaves the battlefield. Yeah, so you see he's been forced to... He's reduced my count by 2 swordfish, but if I can get rid of that, I'll get it back. Now I'll deploy the Fitch. Gotcha. So there is a Navy card somewhere in there. And... So that's boosted his health, but hopefully it shouldn't matter too much. Then I'm going to do Royal Research. And I'm going to take the expanded Royal Research. That's another nice British booster. Synthetic rubber. See, I get +4 defense and an attack equal to defense. So I could make one of my swordfish into a 9/9. Which would be quite handy, or I could boost things even further. There are some really nice cards up at the end of that particular development tree. But, oh well, the enemy surrendered. I wasn't expecting that, but I'll take it. And I finished one of my daily missions, so yay, gold. So, that is Cards, ladies and gentlemen. Or at least the naval theme version with a couple of quick games played. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and see you again in another video.